Okay, where is it centered? Well, it is centered at x equals 1. There we go. That's the easy part. Let's continue with the hard part. Let's find the limit. As k approaches infinity, ratio test is a fantastic test for ones like this. So when we do that, what we're going to do is plug in k plus 1. Now, consider this. When we do the ratio test, we are taking the absolute value. So we don't want anything to be negative, and knowing that this is what I call the toggle factor, and it switches the sign back and forth from positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. And so when we do that, it would be negative sometimes. So since I want the absolute value, I'm going to ignore this piece right here. So I don't need to do -1 to the k plus 1. It's not relevant. It's not what I really want to do. And it's not useful anyway. So we're going to have x minus 1 to the k plus 1. So x minus 1 to the k and x minus 1 to the 1 over k plus 1 times 3 to the k plus 1. And then we'll multiply by the reciprocal of that. So k reciprocal of what we have here, but we're ignoring the factor that switches the sign back and forth. X minus 1 to the k. After a while, you start noticing patterns and you can cancel some stuff out. So that one, that factor, and that is it. And what we're going to have is everything that doesn't have a k is going to go in the front. We have the limit as k approaches infinity, and this is a k, there's a k here, so k over k plus 1. And right here we have x minus 1 over 3, and it's absolute valued. And we want this thing to be less than 1. Well, understand that this part is 1. So knowing that this part is 1, what we really have is, well, this. And now we're back to just a little bit of algebra 2. We'll put that less than 1. And when we do that, we'll solve that equation. Well, inequality. This three-sided inequality. We'll multiply everything by 3. And we'll add 1 to everything. And at this point, we kind of understand what's going on here. Now, we know it's centered at 1. And when we tripled it, we were 3 away from 1. We can kind of see that here. So let's just go ahead and go for the obvious. The radius of convergence is not either of these numbers. It's actually 3 for that reason right there. But also because you can kind of see what's happening. If I go from -2 to 4, then I'm going 6. We'll take half of that and you get 3. All right, so my interval of convergence is from -2 to 4, brackets, parentheses, who knows. So here we go, going through the test again. So we are going to test x equals -2. We're going to see what happens. And let's plug in a -2. I'm going to do a lot of this in my head because this process is starting to go much quicker, I think. So as we do that, we need to be cognizant of how much time we're using on these and just start finding shortcuts. So when we test that, we're going to go from 1 to infinity. We plug in a -2 here. That gives me a -3, -3 to the k, and then 3 to the k. Well, -3 divided by 3 is, well, -1. So I have -1 to the k. And we also have -1 to the k. Whoa, where'd that other one come from? And that's over k. All right, so here's the deal. This one's kind of tricky. When we plugged in a -2, we got -3 here. -3 divided by 3 is -1. We already had that one built into it, and we're not ignoring that when we test this. So what we really have is -1 to the 2k, and there's that. Well, 2k is always an even number, right? So for any number you plug in for k, any integer you plug in for k, this is going to be even. So we raise a negative to an even power, and we're going to get a positive. So what we really have is +1 over k, and this diverges. This is harmonic, so this is going to diverge, which tells me that. Okay, we'll do the same thing for x equals 2. So we're going to test x equals +2. So k is going to equal 1 to infinity. And when we plug in a +4, I'm sorry, +4 right there. Fix that. So we're going to plug a +4 in right there. We have 3 minus 1. 4 minus 1 gives me 3. 3 to the k over 3 to the k gives me, well, 1. So what I really have is this that I had to start with. I have a 1, and it is over k. And this is harmonic, but it is an alternating harmonic series. So this one converges. And therefore, that is a bracket. So It is centered at 1, and this series will converge from -2 to 4. It will converge at 4. It will not converge at -2.